My name is Kaelor, Agent K07 of the Silken Web. My mission? To save Gore and Earth, to go boldly to the places Vraxis and the Priest King's nest send me.
This is not the Gore you remembers. This is the Gore that remembers you. Agents of the Silken Web.
The Blades of Three, a Gorian tale of the Silken Web. 3. The Blade's Edge. The Kurii lunged. Kaelor's cord hissed through the air, its strands a lethal shimmer that wrapped around the first creature's arm. The Kurii roared, its mechanical bellows shaking the cavern, but the cord burned into its steel, black oil seeping, its strength failing. Kaelor yanked and the beast stumbled, but did not fall. Sarakan's whip cracked, its thong coiling around a second Kurii's leg. He pulled, and the creature toppled, its claws scrabbling at the stone. Is this the best the steel worlds can send? He snarled, whelps and cowards. The third Kurii charged Tarl, its claws slashed, red eyes blazing. Tarl parried, steel clashing against steel, the impact jarring his arm to the shoulder. He thrust, his blade finding a joint, piercing, twisting. Oil spurted, black and hot, and the Kurii staggered. But it did not fall. It struck again, and Tarl barely dodged, the claw tearing through his sleeve, drawing blood. He stumbled, and the creature lunged. Kaelor's cord wrapped around its throat. The Kurii choked, its red eyes flickering, its steel limbs flailing. Kaelor pulled, and the beast fell, its neck melting beneath the thread's burn. "Close," Kaelor said. "Too close." Tarl nodded, his breath ragged. "I was slow. I have not fought them like this, not in years." "You are alive," Sarakan said. He was binding the second Kurii with his whip, its struggles growing weaker by the moment. "That is enough for now." The fourth Kurii did not attack. It stood by the beacon, its red eyes fixed on the three men, a cold intelligence gleaming in their depths. It was smaller than the others, leaner, its steel form more fluid, more graceful. It watched as Kaelor's cord burned through the third creature's neck, as Sarakan's whip tightened around the second. It did not move. It was waiting. Kaelor saw it. "The beacon," he said. "It is protecting the beacon." Sarakan's laugh was low, cold. "Then we take the beacon first." He moved, his whip cracking, its thong snaking toward the spire of alien metal. The Kurii moved faster. Its claws slashed, severing the whip's tip, and Sarakan stumbled, the recoil jarring his arm. "You will not touch it," the Kurii said. Its voice was softer than the others, almost human, its red eyes gleaming. "This beacon is our voice to the steel worlds. It will not be silenced by slavers and savages." Sarakan's smile was thin. "It will be silenced by whatever cuts it." He lunged again, whip lashing, but the Kurii was faster. It dodged, its claws raking Sarakan's side, and he fell, blood spattering the stone. "Sarakan!" Kaelor's cord flew, wrapping around the Kurii's arm, but the creature did not fall. It turned, its red eyes blazing, and with a single slash it cut the cord in two. Kaelor stared at the severed strands, his face pale. "It cut the web." The Kurii laughed. "The web of spiders. We have studied your weapons, human. We have learned. Your cord is nothing to us." It lunged at Kaelor, claws extended. Sura had not stayed in the ship. She had watched them leave, had watched the forest swallow them, had waited in the silver cabin with Lyra and the hum of dying engines. But when the cavern began to shake, when the ground trembled beneath her knees, she could wait no longer. She ran through the forest, her bare feet bleeding, her silk torn by branches, her heart pounding. She did not know why she ran. She only knew that Kaelor was in danger, that he needed her, that she would not let him die alone. She found the cave, its mouth gaping, its shadows deep. She did not hesitate. She ran into the darkness, following the sounds of battle, the clash of steel, the roar of Kurii, the shouts of men. She found Kaelor on his knees, the Kurii's claws raised for the killing blow. She threw herself between them. The claws stopped a hair's breadth from her face. The Kurii stared at her, its red eyes flickering, its head tilting in something that might have been curiosity. A slave, it said. Its voice was soft, almost gentle. A slave protecting her master. How touching. Sura did not move. Her arms were spread, her body shielding Kaelor, her eyes fixed on the creature's face. "You will not kill him," she said. Her voice was steady. "You will not." "And why would I not?" "Because if you kill him, you will have to kill me, and I am nothing. I am no warrior, I am no threat. But if you kill me, you will have killed something that chose to die. Not because it was ordered, because it wanted to." The Kurii was silent for a long moment, its claws lowered slowly. "You are not nothing," it said. "You are something we did not expect." It turned away, back toward the beacon. Sura did not move. She knelt beside Kaelor, her hands on his face, her tears falling on his cheeks. "Do not die," she whispered. "Please, I chose you. I chose to be yours. Do not leave me." Kaelor's eyes opened. He looked at her, this woman who had been a slave, who had been bought and sold, who had knelt at his feet and offered him wine. He had never seen her like this, bloodied, fierce, unbroken. "I am not worth dying for," he said. "That is not your choice," she said. "It is mine." Across the cavern, Sarakan was not dead. He lay against the wall, his side bleeding, his whip severed, his eyes fixed on the Kurii that had wounded him. Lyra knelt beside him, her red hair bright in the dim light, her hands pressing against his wound. "You should not be here," he said. His voice was weak. "I told you to stay in the ship." "You told me many things," she said. "I did not listen." "You never listen." "You never wanted me to." She tore a strip from her silk, bound his wound. "I knew you would need me." "I needed my whip." "You needed someone to throw you a knife." She pressed the blade into his hand. "Now get up. The Tuchuk is dying and the Earthman is alone." Sarakan looked at her. She was a slave bought in Port Kar, trained to kneel and serve. But there was fire in her eyes, steel in her voice. He had never seen her like this. "Why?" he asked. "Why did you come?" She did not answer. She helped him stand, her arm around his waist, his weight on her shoulder. Together they moved toward the beacon. Tarl faced the fifth Kurii alone. The other three were down, one dead, one dying, one retreating toward the tunnel. But the fifth, the smaller, faster, cunning one, stood between him and the beacon. It had cut Kaelor's cord. It had wounded Sarakan. It had watched Sura throw herself between Kaelor and death with something like interest. Now it watched Tarl. "The Earthman," it said. Its voice was soft, almost human. "The mother's favorite, the Kur's friend." "I am no one's friend," Tarl said. "I am no one's favorite." "You are. The mother hates you. She sent you here to die. She sent the others with you so that you would not die alone." Tarl's blood ran cold. "What?" "The beacon is real. The Kurii are real. But the mission was always yours alone. The mother knew you would succeed. She also knew you would not return. The others were insurance. In case you failed, they would finish what you started. In case you succeeded, they would be there to witness your end. Tarl's hands tightened on his sword. She sent me to save Kurii. She sent you to die. The beacon will be destroyed. The city will be saved, but you will not see it. That is her gift to you, a life for a life. The city you loved for the life you took from her. Tarl did not move. The Kurii's words hung in the air like smoke, thick and suffocating. The mother had sent him to die. She had sent Kaelor and Sarakan as witnesses, as backup, as collateral. They were all expendable, and yet they had come, they had fought, they had bled. Then I will die, Tarl said. But I will die destroying your beacon. And I will die with men who chose to fight beside me. Not because they were ordered, because they wanted to. The Kurii's eyes flickered. You are a fool, perhaps. Tarl raised his sword. But I am a fool who still has steel. The Kurii lunged. Tarl met it, blade against claw, steel against steel. The impact drove him back, his boots scraping against the stone. The Kurii was stronger, faster, its movements fluid, its attacks relentless. Tarl parried, dodged, thrust, but every blow was met, every strike turned aside. He was losing. The Kurii's claws raked his arm, his side, his thigh. Blood flowed, warm and slick. His sword grew heavy. His breath came in gasps. He could not hold much longer. Then Kaelor was beside him. His cord was gone, but he had a knife, Sura's knife, the small blade she carried for cutting fruit. He slashed at the Kurii's legs, forcing it back, giving Tarl room to breathe. You should not be here, Tarl said. Neither should you, Kaelor said. But we are, and we will not leave you. Sarakan came next, Lyra's arm around him, his severed whip in his hand. He could not fight with it, but he could distract, his voice cutting through the din, his laughter cold and sharp. The mother sent us to die, he said. She did not send us to die alone. The Kurii turned, its red eyes blazing. You are all fools. Perhaps, Sarakan said, but we are fools who choose our death. That is more than you will ever have. Sura saw the knife. It lay on the ground where Kaelor had dropped it, a small blade, barely a weapon but sharp enough to cut. She picked it up. Her hands were steady. Her heart was calm. She had been a slave for years. She had knelt, she had served, she had offered wine and food and her body to men who did not see her. But she had always chosen, not the slavery, that was not her choice, but the service, the giving, the offering. Now she would choose again. She crept forward, silent, unnoticed. The Kurii was focused on the men, its claws flashing, its red eyes blazing. It did not see her. It did not see the small blade in her hand. She drove it into its back. The Kurii roared, a sound that shook the cavern, that cracked the stone, that sent Lyra to her knees and Sarakan to the wall. It spun, its claws raised, its red eyes fixed on the woman who had dared to wound it. But Tarl was faster. His sword drove into its chest, piercing the steel, breaking through the armor, finding the heart that pulsed with alien light. The Kurii staggered, its claws reaching for him, its red eyes flickering. You are fools, it said. Its voice was a whisper now, fading. Then it fell. The beacon pulsed one final time. Kaelor limped toward it, Sura's knife still in his hand. He did not have the webbing, it had been in his cord, and his cord was destroyed. But he had something else. He had the fury of a man who had been betrayed, the strength of a man who had fought for something he believed in. He drove the knife into the beacon's core. The light flickered, died, flared again. The metal cracked, split, shattered. The hum that had filled the cavern for months, for years, fell silent. The beacon was destroyed. Kaelor fell to his knees. Sura caught him. You are alive, she said. You are alive. He looked at her, this woman who had been a slave, who had thrown herself between him and death, who had chosen him when he had given her nothing. I am, he said, because of you. They stood together at the cavern's entrance, 4 of them, Tarl, Kaelor, Sarakan, and the women who had saved them. The forest was quiet, the hills of Kurii green and gentle in the fading light. Behind them the Kurii lay dead. The beacon was silent. The city was safe. "The mother betrayed us," Kaelor said. "She sent us to die." "Yes," Tarl said, "but we did not die. We chose to live," Sarakan said. "That is more than she can take from us." They walked back toward the silver ship, the forest closing around them, the shadows lengthening. Sura walked beside Kaelor, her hand in his. Lyra walked beside Sarakan, her arm around his waist. Tarl walked alone, but he was not lonely. He had found something in this cave, something he had lost years ago. He had found men who would fight beside him. He had found women who would choose to save. And he had found that the mother's betrayal could not break him. He had been broken before. He had survived. The flight ship lifted into the night, its silver hull gleaming, its golden light fading. Below, Kurii's tower stood white and proud, safe for another day. Inside the cabin, Sura knelt at Kaelor's feet, but her head was not bowed. She looked at him and he looked at her, and there was something between them that had not been there before. "You are not a slave," he said. "I am your slave," she said. "You are a woman who chose me." She smiled. "That is the same thing for me." He did not understand, but he thought he might one day. Across the cabin, Sarakan leaned against the bulkhead, Lyra beside him. His whip was ruined, his cord destroyed. He had nothing left but his life. "It was worth it," he said. Lyra looked at him. "Was it?" He did not answer. He did not need to. Tarl sat by the viewport watching Kurii fade into the distance. He had saved the city. He had lost it again, but he had found something else. He had found men who would fight beside him. He had found women who would choose to save. And he had found that the mother's hatred could not destroy him. He had been destroyed before. He had rebuilt himself. He looked at his reflection in the silver wall. His eyes were gray, his hair auburn, his face lined with years and scars. He was not the man who had left Kurii. He was not the man who had carried the mother's egg across the plains. He was something new. He was one of the three, and the three were one.